Hey everyone, it's Sarah and today is my birthday. So welcome to my crochet channel and I'm going to show you how to make this adorable cupcake pillow. It makes a nice gift for anybody on their birthday and it's also fun just to have around. I'm going to show you how to make the cupcake pillow and I'm also going to show you how to make the red pom pom at the end of the video. It's super easy. This pillow measures about 12 by 12 inches and it's so much fun to make. This is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make your cupcake pillow, you're going to need some chunky number 5 yarns. I use this yarn. It's called Echo Cozy. It's from Loops and Threads, which is a Michaels yarn. And this yarn is really interesting because it's made from recycled plastic. It's extremely soft and fluffy. Now, it does say it's a bulky number 5. I found it to be closer to a number 6 because it is really fluffy and thick. All right, so this color is called Flecked Taupe. This color is called Flecked Pink. And I loved how it looked on here because it looked like it had sprinkles, so I don't have to add any to the frosting. You don't have to use this particular yarn. You can use any number 5 yarn and make your cupcakes in any color that you want to. You're going to need approximately 5.29 ounces of each color. And then you're also going to need some medium weight number 4 yarn if you want to make a pom-pom for the cherry at the top of your cupcake. You can also use a pre-made pom-pom if you want to. And I'll show you how I make a pom-pom in a really simple way. You're going to need your K-hook, which is a 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. And we're using a K-hook because most of our cupcake is stitched in double crochets, and we want those stitches to be nice and tight. We don't want to see that fiber popping through. And speaking of that, you're going to need about 8 ounces of any kind of polyester fiber fill that you want to use, or any kind of stuffing that you prefer. It's up to you how tightly you stuff that, and so keep that in mind as well. You're going to need a needle for weaving in ends, and remember, you need one big enough to get that thick yarn through, and of course you need your scissors. We'll be starting with the top of the cupcake, and remember, you need to make 2 cupcakes. Make our slip knot, chain 5. We'll join this chain 5 into a circle by placing our tail of yarn over our hook and pulling that through. And we'll just make that little stay knot. Now, if you prefer to use the magic circle, you certainly can. We'll put our hook in, pull up our loop, and chain 3. I will be stitching over this tail of yarn. We're going to stitch 6 more double crochets because our chain 3 counts as 1 and we need a total of 7. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let me count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And chain 3. And this is the way that row 1 should look. Chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we have 7 double crochets, chain 3. Now we've chained 3, we're going to turn our work. We're going to stitch a double crochet in that same stitch as that first chain 3, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in each of those stitches. 2 double crochets in each of the 7 is going to get us 14 double crochets. And don't forget where we started with that chain 3, that counted as our first double crochet. So we need to make sure we stitch 2 in that first double crochet and chain 3. So for row 2 we have 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 double crochets, chain 3. All right, for row 3 we've chained 3 and we're going to turn our work. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to go in the next double crochet and stitch 2 double crochets. Then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next. And so the repeat for row 3 is 2 double crochets in the next and 1 double crochet in the next. I call this doing 2 and 1. I like to do that because it helps me remember what I'm supposed to be doing for this row. So 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2, and 1 double crochet in the next. And we'll repeat this around. 2 and 1 in the next. So I completed that repeat of 2 and 1, and I have 21 double crochets, and then I chained 3. All right, so let's turn and do row 4. Row 4, again, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. Then we're going to double crochet 1 time in the next stitch, and then in the next stitch we're going to double crochet 2 times, 1 and 2. And so our repeat for row 4 is 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches and 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2. And again, we will repeat this around 1, 2, 1 double crochet in the next 2, and 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2. And we'll continue to repeat this around. So I've repeated that 2 and 2. So I have 28 double crochets, chain 3, and turn. All right, we're moving along nicely, aren't we? All right, row 5, our chain 3 counts as our first, and so we're going to double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. And then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And so our repeat for row 5 is 1 double crochet in the next 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2. And so our repeat is 3 and 2. 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next, 1 and 2. And again, we'll repeat that all the way over here, chain 3 and turn. For row 5, you should have 35 double crochets, chain 3 and turn. Now we're going to do row 6. So again, our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet, and we're going to double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll place 2 double crochets in the next stitch. All right, and so our repeat is 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, and then 2 in the next. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 double crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next 1 and 2. And that's our repeat for row 6. Working all the way back around over here, chain 3 and turn. So I have completed row 6, and you should have 42 double crochets, and then chain 3 and turn. And we just have 2 more rows to do on the top of our cupcake. All right, so for row 7, our double crochet counts as our first, and then we'll double crochet in the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so since our chain 3 counts as our first, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets, and then 2 double crochets in that next stitch. And so that's our repeat for row 7. 1 double crochet in the next 5 double crochets. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then 2 double crochets in the next 1 and 2. So that's our repeat, 5 and 2. 1 double crochet in those next 5 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next. Again, repeat it all the way back around over here, and chain 3. I have completed row 7, and you should have 49 double crochets. Chain 3 and turn, and this is our last row around the top of our cupcake. All right, so again, our chain 3 counts as our first, and this time we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. And so our repeat for row 8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double crochets, 1 in each of the next, and then 2 double crochets in the next. So 1 double crochet in the next 6, 1, 2, whoops, there we go, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 double crochets in that next stitch. 1 and 2. And so our repeat for row 8 is 1 double crochet in the next 6 stitches and 2 double crochet in the next. Repeat that all the way around over here, only this time we're going to chain 1 and not 3. I completed row 8, and you're going to have 56 double crochets. We chained 1, and we're going to turn, but we're going to be working on the bottom row of our cupcake. And what we want to do is we want to evenly stitch 30 single crochets. So if you divide 30 in half, you'll do 15, then you'll get to the center here and do 15. All right, and that will make it a little easier to evenly single crochet those stitches. All right, so we'll try to go in the sides of the stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, there we go, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 right in that hole. All right, so there's my first 15. Now I'm going to do the same on this side. So we'll go back in that hole, that tail out of the way there. 1, 2, oops, I went in that hole. I want to go in the stitch. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, I think I'll go through that stitch there. 7, 8, 9, 10, trying to get through some of those stitches. There we go. There's 11, 12, 13, there we go, 14, and 15. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just chain 1. And so now I have 30 single crochet stitches across the bottom of my cupcake. Now before we go any farther, I want to grab my needle. This is going to be the front, so we're going to turn this over and we're going to gently pull on that string, and that's going to close that hole up a little bit. But what we're going to do is go ahead and make sure that that hole is all closed up by threading that on our needle and just going back around. There we go. Because we don't want a hole in the center of our little cupcake. All right, so I'm going to go back the way I came, making sure I'm going through fibers. All right. There we go. So now we're going to make those shell stitches, and we're going to be stitching only in the back loops of our cupcake. Okay, and so what that means is when you look at that row of single crochets, you'll see loops on the back and loops on the front. The front loops are facing you and the back loops are facing away, and we're going to be stitching in the back loops only. All right, so what we're going to do is stitch a single crochet in that first single crochet. We're going to skip the next stitch, and then in this next stitch we're going to stitch a shell stitch, and we're going to be stitching 4 double crochets in that back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll skip the next stitch and then stitch a single crochet in the back loop. We'll skip the next stitch and stitch a shell stitch in the back loop, which again is 4 double crochets. Skip the next and single crochet in the back loop of the next stitch. All right, and let's look at this. This is the front of our cupcake, and it's making those little shell stitches that we're going to do all across the front of this. All right, let's do one more. We'll skip the next, stitch a shell stitch in the back loop of the next stitch, which is our 4 double crochets. 1, 2, I've got a string there that keeps catching. There we go. 3 and 4. Hopefully it won't catch that time. There we go. All right, my 4 shell stitches. Skip the next stitch and single crochet in the back loop of the next stitch. All right, and then we'll just repeat this all the way across for that little edge of our icing on our cupcake. I completed my shell stitches across, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shell stitches with the single crochets in between. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to cut our yarn. We're done with color 1, and we're going to bring in color 2, which is the color of the bottom of our cupcake. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn our work, and we're going to be stitching in these loops back here. All right, when we faced it this way, we stitched our shell stitches in the front loops. But now we're turning, and those back loops become our front loops on this side. All right, I want to explain that to you so you don't get confused. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. And we're going to double crochet in each of those back loops. And what I do is I fold that down, and that helps me find those back loops, which were the front loops, which are now the back loops on this side. And we're going to just stitch 1 double crochet in each of those loops, working across this row. All right, let me do a few stitches. More yarn out here. All right, so I'm working across the back loops, and if you push this down, you'll see how that will lay right underneath the edge of our shell stitches for our cupcake ripple. You know, the ripple that goes across the frosting. All right, so we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the back loops, working all the way across. I have double crocheted in each of those back loops, working all the way across, and when you get to your last stitch, you need to add another double crochet in that last stitch and chain 3. And we need that extra double crochet because we need 31 double crochets across. We chained 3, and now we're going to turn our work. All right, so we're working on the back here. This is the front, and I just want to show you how that looks. And don't worry if it pulls in a little bit there. It's not going to matter. Once we get it stuffed, it'll look just adorable. All right, so we're working on the back here. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch. And so now what we're going to do is stitch a back post double crochet. We normally stitch our stitches up here, but this is the post of our stitch. And we're going to go on the back side, take our hook around the post, and stitch our double crochet. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next stitch. Then we will stitch a back post again. Then we'll stitch a regular double crochet, and we're going to alternate this all the way across, stitching a back post, double crochet, and a regular double crochet across, going around the post from the back side. Then we'll stitch a regular double crochet in the next stitch. We're going to repeat this all the way across, and I want to show you what it will look like on the front. All right, so repeat across this row, back post double crochet in the next, and a regular double crochet in the next, alternating that all the way across. So I've repeated it all the way across, back post and regular double crochet alternating. And when you get to the end of your row, here's my last back post, you're going to have 2 stitches left. And so we'll double crochet in those last 2 stitches. One, two, three, chain 3, and turn. 2 double crochets, then we back post alternating and ended with 2 double crochets. So now we've turned and we're on the front side of our work. And so for this row, we're basically repeating what we did on the last row, only we're going to be doing front post stitches instead of back post. So our double crochet counts as our first, and then we'll double crochet in the next stitch. We'll front post double crochet around the next stitch is where we placed that back post double crochet. Double crochet in the next, and front post double crochet in the next. And we'll alternate this, working all the way across this row. Regular double crochet, front post double crochet, regular double crochet, front post double crochet. And you can see how that's looking like the wrapper or the bottom of our cupcake. And again, we're going to repeat this all the way across. Regular double crochet, front post double crochet, alternating all the way across. And then when we get to these last 2 stitches, we'll stitch 2 double crochets, 1 in each of those last 2 stitches. So I repeated that all the way across, alternating double crochets with front post double crochets. Then when I got to the last 2, I stitched 1 double crochet and the last 2, chain 3, and then we'll turn. But for right now, I just want to turn it over this way so you can see how that's going to lay. Isn't that pretty? All right, so what we're going to do for the next 4 rows is we're going to repeat row 12 and row 13, the back post and front post rows. We're going to repeat those rows 2 more times for 4 more rows. We're going to do back post, front post, back post, front post rows. So we're repeating row 12 and 13 4 more times, alternating every other row. I completed those 4 additional rows, alternating back post and front post. And if you're on your first cupcake, go ahead and tie off and weave in that end because we need 2 cupcakes. If you finish your second cupcake, go ahead and leave your yarn attached because we're going to use that yarn to stitch our 2 cupcakes together. So here's my 2 cupcakes. I have a front and a back. And what you're going to do is you're going to put them together with the right sides facing out. Because we're going to stitch single crochet all the way around. Then we're going to stuff it and close it up. So we've got our cupcake on top that has the yarn still attached. And then we're going to stitch together single crochets working all the way around. All right, so we'll just go in over here and start stitching single crochets. What I like to do is try to do this first section first, make sure everything's lined up so that the bottom part on both sides are lined up nicely. And it's very important that you stitch through stitches and not holes. And like that, it might be a little bit snug, but we don't want any stuffing to escape out the sides of our cupcake. All right, so we're just going to work across, stitching the front and the back together. There we go. Trying to keep everything lined up so that we don't offset our cupcake bottom and our cupcake top. There we go. Now, when you get to the pink portion of your cupcake, if you would like, you can change colors. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I'm going to, because I don't want the brown on the top of my cupcake. All right, so I'm going to go across here. I'm going to cut my yarn, but I'll join it back in over on this other side. But I want to use my pink for the top of my cupcake. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to grab that pink yarn and finish off that single crochet. Move those shell stitches out of the way, kind of work around them. Do some stitches here. All right, had extra loop there. I don't know what from. All right, so now I'm just going to work around the top. And the nice thing about the top of the cupcake is we have stitches to work in. So we can just go through the stitches and stitch single crochets, working all the way around the top of our cupcake. And I'm going to keep going, and I'll meet you back over here on the other side. I stitched around the top of my cupcake, stitching the front and the back together. And I'm back down to this brown section. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the pink off so that I can use the brown to finish the bottom of my cupcake. So I'm going to go ahead and go in. There we go. That stitch was a little snug. Grab my brown yarn again. Pull that through. And then we'll snug those down. And again, we are going to have to weave those ends in very securely so they'll stay attached. And now I'm just going to evenly single crochet down the side of the cupcake with this brown yarn. We're just evenly single crocheting the same way we did on the other side. And this is how the cupcake should look at this point. We stitched in the brown, we changed colors. I took my hook and I pulled those strings to the inside and I weaved them in on the inside of my cupcake. Then I stitched in those stitches, again, stitching the front and the back together all the way around the top of the cupcake. Then when I got over here, I changed colors again and then stitched single crochets evenly down the side with the brown. And again, I pulled those inside and weave those into the inside of my cupcake pillow. So here's my stuffing. I'm using just basic polyester fiber fill, and I'm going to gently stuff it. If you stuff it too tightly, because we're using double crochet stitches, you might see that stuffing through. And that's why I said about 8 ounces is probably plenty for your cupcake. All right, now what you're going to do is again close the bottom, and we also have stitches to work in, so that makes it super nice. All right, so we'll just begin stitching across the bottom, stitching through those stitches, stitching single crochets to close it up across the bottom. And it's brown, so we don't need to change colors again because that's the color of the bottom of our cupcake. All right, now at this point, as you're working, you see you might want to add a little more stuffing. Go for it. It's up to you how much stuffing you want inside your cupcake. Alrighty, so I'm just going to go ahead and stitch across the bottom, stitching it closed, the front and the back together. I've stitched across, single crocheting the bottom closed to my cupcake. We're going to cut that off, tie that off, grab our needle, and make sure that is secure. We don't want our cupcake opening up. Make some stitches, going through fibers and stitches. And when you get to these bigger needles, you have a blunter end, and it's a little bit harder to get through some of that stitching and things. All right, so now we're just going to go in. We're going to whirl that around in all that stuffing. And clip that off. Pull that back out. All right, so now we have this cute, adorable cupcake, but I want to add a red pom-pom on top to look like a cherry. And I'm going to show you how quickly and easy you can do that. Cut off a piece of yarn that's about 12 to 14 inches long. Then take your ball of yarn, wrap it around your 4 fingers about 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. I did a few more, didn't I? All right, we're going to cut our yarn. We're going to take that and lay it right on that string. Move this down. There we go. And again, if you want to fluffy your yarn pom-pom, go ahead and wrap it around your hand a few more times. All right, so now we're just going to tie that tightly. Get a few more knots on there. Make sure that's not going to come undone. There we go. And I'm going to take my little bucket that I like to use when I'm making a pom-pom. And we're just going to cut those strings. And of course, you can purchase a red pom-pom or a pink pom-pom or any color you want. If you don't want to add one, you don't have to. There we go. There we go. All right, a little bit even. And then I just take that, because I want this to be a small pom-pom. I don't want it to be huge. Then I kind of look at it, see if I've got any, crazy ones sticking out of order there, and I'll just kind of clip those. All right, let's add the pom-pom to our cupcake. So I'm just going to kind of go up to the center. I'm going to put my hook through. I'm going to grab one of those strings. There we go. And I'm just going to tie it on. I'm going to turn this over. Tie it on a couple of times, making sure it's nice and sturdy. I just cut those strings the same length as the strings on my pom-pom. And now my cupcake is ready for my birthday party. Now, if you'd like to add a little face on yours, you can use some safety eyes or embroidery that on, but I just didn't want that on mine.